You're muted.
All right, everybody just missed the greatest intro I ever gave this man. Thank you, Glenn. We could have done the whole show, but mine, please let me out. It would have been. Welcome, Glenn Fleming. I said, let me step into the cockpit here, and we'll get going. Writer, artist, publisher. What is your company name, Glenn?
Me. It's just me.
You don't have a company name like Marvel, DC, or anything like that?
No, it's just
yeah.
I used to
publications or anything.
Well, you could have GBF publications, I guess.
Okay. I just wondered what you kind of put that under.
Yeah, I used to have my own business. That was GBF Graphics, but that was a while back. And,
okay.
I had a studio and all that kind of thing. And then in the 80s, I had my own comic art studio, which was called Idiom Comics. But I don't have those now.
Yeah.
I'm retired now. I'm an old man.
I know you. I guess I need to come to the island. You and Dave, and everybody I know over there is retired. So of course I'm still a young man. So
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really old. In fact, there's only two people I think who come on these things who are older than me, and that's John Silvestri and Dave Houston. I think he's about a year older than me.
Well, you should be feeling young about right now. Now, last night I had a blowout.
Oh wow!
I wish I was retired.
Jesus,
totally destroyed that tire. And
how fast were you going when that happened?
35 miles an hour, maybe.
Wow.
Look at my hand.
Oh dear, man.
It was so those lug nuts were on there. So I was straining with everything I had, both hands, to get the tire changed. I had to call the police, and then they called the fire department, to help us out, because that little jack in the truck was not elevating it off the ground enough, and for that full size tire. And and they were great. I said, can you follow me down there, because the spare was lower on air, and he said sure, and the talked about that's a truck stop. I said somewhere with air, and they didn't know, but the two firefighters were right there with the hose when I showed up. They're very accommodating. Love those guys.
And then he gave you a ticket.
No, they did not. That's one thing I will not do, is get a speeding ticket. Going down there, I might get a warning. I did get a warning going through there one day this year, but just slow it down a little bit from the sheriff there. But they switch from like 25 to 35 to 45 to 55. They just all threw out there. Yeah, at school. I don't know what his problem was, but they generally leave us alone. They think we're work for the city, I suppose. But so exciting stuff going on. When's Comics Unlimited 13 coming out?
It's out now. It's on Amazon now. Right now.
Oh, so I should check the mail for my copy, right? Because I have an article in that thing.
You do, yeah.
Yeah. That's a special tribute to Ramita Sr., huh?
Yeah, I've not got my copy yet. My copy.
You haven't got your copy yet? No. Yeah. Well, it's in the mail, as they say.
In the mail, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's out now. It's
so that's something that you try and come out with about 100 pages. I've noticed they varied because
this one's got about 86. I think it's a bit Then it usually I think there was one other issue that was below. They're usually 100. Yeah.
John or Dave has actually been showing those to us. Right. We've went through 1 through 12. He started with 12, and then we went back to 1, and then up through. And I think Russ Leach was your feature story in number 5 or 6, I think.
Yeah. He was. Yeah, he's been.
I was like, wow, that's Only Death Can Save Us on the cover. That's awesome. That you're doing some crowdfunding. This one's kind of laser focused just on Ramita, so I could see where that might be a little shorter.
Well, It's not entirely about him. There is other stuff in there, but
is there? Okay.
Yeah, but I drew the cover, so it had to come out because I'd spent time drawing the cover.
Right.
It's my magazine anyway, so you know.
R.J. Williams in the house. Hell, I came in time to hear someone called for a fireman. Ask and you shall receive. Okay, RJ, I didn't realize he contacted me recently on Twitter. I didn't realize he was a firefighter. That's awesome. Fanta was first in here. It's good to see you, Fanta. Shadowhawk started early, eh? Yeah, we started early. I did send you a link, Shadowhawk, if you want to come in. Shadowhawk being my co-host. We had to do these things early, or early, even earlier on the weekend, because you're over there in the UK. You're 6 hours into the future.
Yeah, it's 10 to 6. It says 6 o'clock.
Yeah. I've looked your campaign over a little. I see one perk that I want to back for sure. A couple perks, actually. But no, it's not the $10,000 figure.
Listen.
Before you start getting too excited.
Look at that.
And your wife made that. Your wife made that.
Yes, she did. Yeah, she made that. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh man, that thing is so cool.
I love that. She didn't just
Hey, Glenn, good evening.
She kind of
Hi, Shadowhawk. All right. She did what? Sorry, Rex. Say again.
She stain glazed it. I like that.
Yeah,
that
it's
she
called.
went with that.
It's called oxidized or something.
Yeah, oxidized.
Yeah, but it's fantastic.
I did some of that back in college. I really like it. Yeah. Don't drop it, Glenn.
No, I know.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, if anybody buys it, I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it wherever it is in the world. I'm going to take it. I'm not going to trust it to the postman to kick around at both ends of the ocean. You know,
kind of like an Oscar. You know.
That's right.
They
need it in their hand.
Yeah.
Plus, it'll get me on.
Unless they're in Antarctica, I think you'll be able to afford it if you sell it for $10,000.
Exactly. Yeah, and Antarctica. Yeah, that's if they want me to go down there, I will.
Yeah.
You need to get a mold made, Glenn, and make some like little 2-inch guys. You know?
Yeah, I'm going to get it photographed and get some 3D.
There you go. 3D I guess you can do that all in computer now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Map it out.
You can just 3D print them now, right, Glenn?
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Yeah, that's what we're looking at anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, so, that's cool.
But that it's great. It's just it's an amazing piece of work.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Your wife. I mean, that's just amazing.
I think it's the best.
We had originally, Glenn, I might have to explain myself, have you on the Rex X and Apex show, where you're probably better off just with me. Because, those guys are pretty wild. But I know you can handle it. You've been over there on Pops' channel, and that can get pretty wild. But he's tougher than he looks, folks. I mean, New York City hat. Come on. But
listen, I was detained in Iraq.
Were you?
So that's how tough I am. They didn't mess with me for too long.
You've been to Iraq. You've been to Easter Island. Where are some of the other places you've been, Glenn? Around the world.
North and South America, obviously. Europe. I haven't. Middle East, Far East.
See how he says that, Shadowhawk? North and South America,
Canada,
like everybody goes to South America,
So I haven't been to Australia though, or Africa. Not been to. I want to see those pyramids, but not. Yeah, it's probably not a good idea to go at the moment over that way for me.
Yeah, we were talking to you. Got bumped for Hollywood. Well, he's not really a Hollywood director, but he's directed a couple things. He designs, great designer, futuristic. His new project that he's crowdfunding over on Kickstarter is called Eagle Has Landed. Forget his last name, but his first name's Jeffrey. Sweet guy. You two would probably have a lot in common. I didn't get to ask him his design, background, but that's pretty cool when you design your own stuff. And I know you're into the traditional aspect of it, but you're not afraid of new techniques and new technology, are you?
Well, I'm talking to you on a Mac, and I've been using a Mac since 1990. So no, I'm not.
Right.
But I just
I still have my 95 compact in there if you want to, you know, and it's still, I could just plug that thing up and we could go to town.
The first computer I got, it was an Apple Mac. It was about the size of a toaster. It had little screen about that big, black and white.
Yeah.
And it's running, it needed 16 megabytes to run it. And that is 1990. So that was 15 megabytes more than Apollo 11's Eagles computer ran on.
Isn't that amazing?
20 years previously.
And when you talk about screen size, that was about the screens of the first televisions.
Yeah.
You know,
I paid for a friend of mine was working at this place, and I was never going to get into computers.
Yeah.
I didn't think it'd work. Couldn't see how it could take over and blah, blah, blah. And he rang me up and he said to me, I was working for myself, I had my own studio, and he said to me, have you got £600? Which probably now was 30 years ago. So what would it be now? It would probably be a couple of £1,000. And I said, yeah. And he said, go down to the Mac supplier. And he told me which computer to get.
Yeah.
He said, and then ring me this afternoon at his place and agree. I will offer you X amount of pounds to do this job. And you agree, and I'll give you the job. And then you've got a computer and extra. Do you understand what I mean? So he gave me this job to do, but it had to be done on a computer, and it was a black and white screen. And the first job, and he helped me with it because he knew he'd been learning, and I didn't know anything about it, but I trusted him, you know. And the first job we did on it was a color price guide for kitchen manufacturers on a black and white screen. So we didn't know. So we didn't know we'd got it right until it was printed, which is not the way to do it. But what happened then? What happened then? Because the people that you know I did the work for were so pleased, they gave me a load more work, and I went and bought a color screen.
Yeah.
So I'm producing a color brochure on a black and white screen. And
did you do it by code of color?
Yeah, we did it by we marked up on a piece of paper the charts and things and put the color next to them, and then both paid attention while we changed the color, even though you couldn't see it, and then ticked it off that we'd both seen it. You understand what I mean? So we didn't miss anything. It was great. But yeah, computers are fantastic things. Of course they are. But all these,
I don't know if I've ever asked you, but did you watch the moon landing? Were you one of those millions of people?
I watched it live.
I did too. I did too. I was only 3.5 years old, but I watched it live on a black and white rabbit ear TV.
Yeah. Well, I was 14 and I remember it well.
Okay. All right.
And I remember that at school they knew I was into this kind of thing, and I didn't have to, but I did a speech in front of these class. I had a massive moon map about as big as the wall, and put it on the wall, and I had a piece of dowling wood and I was pointing to where Apollo 11 was going to land, where Apollo 12 was going to land, in front of all the school. And then I watched it, and it was early morning here. It was about 4 o'clock in the morning here.
Okay.
And so I was up all night with my dad watching this thing. And then I went to school, and when at dinner time, I was really, lunchtime, I was really tired, So I came home, and I said to my dad, I can't go back. I'm too tired. So he said, okay. So I went to bed because I was tired, and I didn't go to school in the afternoon. And the next day, he'd given me a note telling them what had happened, and none of the teachers said a word. They didn't say a word because they knew I wasn't, It
was a big event.
Yeah,
and you weren't just, it was educational. Yeah.
And I've also got all the newspapers that were published that morning in my hometown, and the newspapers. I've got the original ones from that day. I went in and got them on the way.
All right.
So
the Eagle has landed.
That's the one.
Yeah. I remember I was conveying this on the other show that when the Apollo disaster happened, and we didn't know if we would get the astronauts back alive for the last, for the 3 days of the journey. It was high drama. Everybody was watching it. I watched it as a little kid all day long on ABC. I preferred their coverage of it. And when my dad would get home from work, I would relay everything to him. You know, he probably didn't want to hear half of it, but yeah, to me, it was like, wow, this is real life soap opera stuff, you know, with dire consequences if they get it wrong.
Funny. It's funny how people are destined. On Apollo 13, there was the lunar module pilot was called Fred Hayes, and if anybody was destined, if anybody in the position he was, you know, being a top pilot at NASA at that time, if anybody was destined not to walk on the moon, it was him, and I'll tell you why. The rotation. They have a crew rotation. They have you start as I can't remember what it's called now. There's 3 crews. There's a support crew,
right?
Backup crew, and then prime. And Fred Hayes, he was backup lunar module pilot on the Apollo 8 mission, which was the first one to the moon, first manned flight to the moon. But so that would rotate him to lunar module pilot prime on Apollo 11. But Deke Slayton and Alan Shepard, who were head of the astronaut office, decided when Apollo 11 was decided to be the first moon landing, because 12 was in the frame for a while, they decided that they didn't want any rookies on the flight. So Hayes hadn't flown, so he had to drop out. And Buzz Aldrin came in because he'd flown on Gemini, right? Mm-hmm. So there's one chance he missed, because Fred Hayes, by the rotation, should have been second man on the moon, but he had to drop out. Yeah. So he was rotated to 14, which was Jim Lovell's flight. But Alan Shepard needed more time. So Slayton asked Jim Lovell if he would rotate back. Right? Okay? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So Jim Lovell took the earlier flight, and Alan Shepard landed on the moon on 14. So, and as you know, 13 didn't. So Fred Hayes missed that chance. Yeah. And then Fred Hayes' rotation would have made him commander of Apollo 19 and walk on the moon. But that was cancelled.
It was cancelled. Yeah.
So he missed 3 opportunities to walk on the moon. Yeah. I always feel really bad for him, you know. And then he flew the shuttle, at least he flew the Endeavour. He flew, the Enterprise shuttle test landed. He didn't go into space again. I think his wife had a word with him because she was pregnant on Apollo 13, and it was not looking like they were coming back, wasn't it? So,
right, yeah.
Anyway, he dropped. He didn't take it into space. He should have done, but he didn't.
You've probably seen Tom Hanks. He narrates Earth to the Moon.
Yeah.
I watched that. I was riveted to that when I first watched it. I watched all 17 hours, binge watched it. It actually burnt my eyes.
Wow.
From watching that much. It physically made me sick after that. I remember it was on a Sunday. I couldn't go to church. It was like I was just drained. But I wanted to finish the series. It was that riveting to me. Seeing even just the wives' tales, where the wives were left behind. It was drama for them. And my husband going to come back, the father of my children. It was, it was a riveting.
I think what happened was that the Americans are so good at doing that kind of thing, and they're so good at doing his show that they made it look really, really easy.
Yeah,
and I think it lost interest because it was so easily and so well done. Those guys were so brilliant, and the people at NASA then and now, but they were just so brilliant. And that's when Apollo 13 blew up. Everybody's attention came back. I mean, mine hadn't gone. I watched all the flights. I'd watched them. I'd have watched them every week until now. I was just riveted by it.
Well, you're a pilot, aren't you?
No,
you're not.
No.
You should be. With a cap like that, you should be a pilot.
Well, I did land the space shuttle. I told you about that, didn't I?
Well, yeah. There you go.
I was the first civilian on the new NASA simulation in Florida to land the space shuttle on the simulator. Perfectly.
And you didn't crash up.
I didn't. I nearly crashed. I was going to crash until
I would put my life in your hands, Glenn.
I think you should. Well, I wouldn't let you down.
Well, I don't know about should, but
Well, I wouldn't let you down. Or if I let you down, it's because I couldn't help it. Put it that way.
Yeah.
But I put it down.
As reliable as Smokey Bear. What can I say?
I don't know about that. But anyway, I got it down, and then I got a bollocking for it. I got told off for landing it the way I did. But I got it down. I got $1 billion orbiter down and saved my crew, and they told me off.
Yeah,
because of what I did to do it, because I was going too fast, and I saved the mission.
Yeah,
and then
I guess billions of dollars.
Yeah,
right. Not only your life, but
yeah, and the program, because it would have ended, wouldn't it, for 3 years, like Challenger, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's wild. When the old Saturn rockets were connected, and Russia and America met and shook hands in the airlock and everything.
Yeah.
I remember in 1985, I'm out at the college at like an apartment row outside, and I'm watching this burn up in the atmosphere. And next day we found out what it was, but I actually got to see that burn up in the atmosphere. And the first it was Columbia, right? That blew up, the very first one.
No, Challenger.
Columbia?
Challenger.
I remember I was on lunch break, cashing my check across the street at the bank, and they had it on TV. I stopped to watch it, and it blew up. And then when the second one, which was
Columbia 2003,
Columbia blew up, I was also watching that on TV. I got to see the 9/11, the second tower. It just seems like those seminal moments. I haven't missed them.
I think it sounds like it's jinx because you're watching.
Probably. I mean, I've had 2 holidays.
I wish I would have missed a few of those.
2 dead bodies in my lifetime, and it was on Labor Day and Easter, so it's like I don't invite anybody over for Christmas or Thanksgiving or any holiday, because they might wind up dead. Me finding them dead. I don't know. Maybe I am jinxed. No, I think I'm blessed to have seen what I've seen, in my lifetime. Yeah. I remember mentioning to my mother's mother, my grandmother, I said, I think I'm living in the best of time. We have this, and this. She said, well, I think that I lived in the best of times.
Yeah.
We got radio, we got electricity, we got cars, we got TV. I mean, that she had seen from horse and buggy to car to, she thought that she had lived there in the best of times.
Yeah. And the Romans probably did as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's a matter of perspective, right?
Yeah, of course.
History starts the day you were born for most people.
Yeah.
It's the way I look at it.
But the sad thing is that most people don't realize there was something before they were born.
Yeah, that's true. I've been a big proponent of studying the past, Glenn. I think that helps you appreciate now and the future.
Well, I'm writing a story at the moment, and I've just spent the afternoon on a road in Belgium in 1944.
Okay. So yeah, you're working on a World War II story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where I've been, near a place called Malmedy. Have you heard of that? There's the Malmedy massacre.
Okay.
My book isn't about that, but there's a place in Malmedy where the SS killed 82 American troops. They just shot. Right. They surrendered, and then they just shot them.
Well, I mean, the Nazis wiped out whole cities, right? Leveled it like they were never existed, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess like Rome and other places used to do that too. Like
you see, this is what happens with history as well, is that when people talk about the Roman Empire, 2000 years ago, it's like with nostalgia and admiration. Well, they were murderers. They just trying to take over the world.
Right.
Right. Yeah, so it's very romanticized now.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Like the Egyptians, and the Greeks, they were all warmongers. Yeah. Maybe not the Egyptians, because they didn't go conquering, did they? They stayed at home. But
now they had their stages.
Yeah.
They were. Yeah.
So I like history. It's great. When I was researching my Kennedy books, I'd go down to the main library because there was no computer to look at it then. I had to go and sit in the big library in my city centre. And I used to stay there all day. And in one day, I'd be in Dallas, and then I'd be in Memphis, then I'd be in Moscow, and then I'd be in Vietnam.
If you ever come to Memphis again, and I don't mean Egypt, come see me. I'm only an hour away out of Memphis.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll
eat some ribs or something.
I went to Memphis on the anniversary of Elvis's death, which I think is August 16, 1978. And I got off the Greyhound bus with intention to go and see Graceland, which was about a mile from the bus stop.
Right.
And I got off the bus and I walked past a newsagent, and on the, they have those, they don't do it now because there's no newspapers, but where they used to have like headlines written on a piece of paper for you to buy the paper. It said, right, I'm on my way to see Elvis, right? And it said, police firemen strike, 8 p.m. curfew. So I just got back on the bus and just carried on going. I thought, I'm not walking around a city that's got a curfew and police and firemen are on strike. Because that to me is like opposites. And it's the anniversary of Elvis's death. And I found out later there was 1 million people in Memphis that day. So no, I just got back on the bus and just carried on where I was going,
Yeah.
So I didn't get to see Elvis, or at least his house.
Yeah, they had the Memphis Pyramid over there and have for several. I remember when that was built.
Right.
I don't guess you have been back to Memphis to see that. It's owned by the fishing thing. They had private, the city sold it. I remember they did the ball games and things like that in the pyramid, and I guess they still do, but they had different shows like the Pharaoh, one of the Pharaohs, Ramses the second or something was over there. The one that I went to see, I didn't go see that one, but I went to see the Titanic when they had artifacts from the Titanic. They even had a newspaper that was preserved.
Yeah,
that was on the Titanic. I was like, wow! After all those years,
that's wow.
Preserved in that cold water. It didn't just disintegrate.
I went to Las Vegas, and I was going back to Anaheim, California, and wow, yeah, Commodore 64, and there was a bar on the border of Nevada and California, and it's called Whiskey Pete's. Now, the legend was that when you were on your way back, when you were going from Nevada going into California, you had to stop at Whiskey Pete's and have a drink. So I did. So I went in, and there's the bars there, and there was a car in the corner, in the room, in the bar, with about 16,000 bullet holes in it, and big photographs of Bonnie Parker and Clyde Barra, right? It said, this is the car that Bonnie and Clyde were shot at by the police in 1934 or whatever it was, and this is the car. And I thought, wow, Bonnie and Clyde's car, how good is that? So I had my drink and I carried on, and I got back to some friend's house and I told them about this car, and one of my friends said, who lives in California, he said, so you saw the actual car? I said, yeah, it's got big photographs. This is the actual car. And this black sedan was there with 9 million bullet holes in it. And he said, yeah. He said, did you go to, I can't remember the name now, but this other bar up the road? And I said, no. He said, because that car's in there as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So every bar on the border has got the actual car in it.
Now, have you been to Vegas?
I've been several times, yeah.
Las Vegas, yeah.
Yeah.
You like to gamble a little bit?
I don't gamble, no. I like to watch people, but I don't gamble, no. I didn't. I nearly got thrown out of one. I nearly got thrown out of Circus because, being naive at the time, I leant on the roulette table. And they all went absolutely crazy. And
yeah, because
that's
whoa, balanced, isn't it?
Yeah, and the guys approached me, and I said, whoa, I'm sorry, I'm from out of town. you know, sorry.
We don't believe you.
And they're all the security guards were growling at me because they wanted to throw me out, and the guys on the table were growling at me because they thought I was trying to influence it for the other guy, you know.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. I just leant on the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a strange place. Best thing I
probably would have done the same thing.
Yeah, best thing I did in Vegas was go on a trip to the Grand Canyon in a helicopter.
Oh wow! Okay,
that was good. That was fantastic. Because you know the Grand Canyon is just like a crack. It's not. It looks like mountains, but it's a crack in the ground. It goes down rather than up.
They say that the staff that goes to Area 51 and all those secret places come in and out of Vegas there.
Yes, that's right. They do. Yeah, allegedly. Yeah. In black aircraft, aren't they, and all this kind of thing. Black buses and all this. But it was fantastic. We got on this helicopter, and the part I was sitting in, because I'm tall. When I go in a helicopter, they always put me in the front. So I've been in a helicopter several times, and I'm always in the front. So I'm sitting in this helicopter at the front with this. I'm talking to the pilot, and he was an ex-Navy pilot. Well, he took this helicopter, and I've got a film of it, and it's about 2 feet off the ground, and he's going at 200 miles an hour. And it was absolutely incredible. Wow. And I made a film of it, and he shoots out, and then he sweeps it round, and he's sort of hanging, you know, and I'm nearly falling out. And he stops, and he's hovering, and you can see this big crack, and he just goes into it and goes all the way down. And I put Frankie Goes to Hollywood music on it, and YouTube turned it off. You know, 2 tribes I put on it, and it's just absolutely brilliant. But I'll put the film up without any music on, and people can watch it. But it's incredible. If you go to Vegas, people go to the Grand Canyon. You have to get a little plane, a little 6-seater plane to the airport. Then you get in a helicopter, you go down, and then you get off the helicopter, you get on a boat and go on the Colorado River. Then you come back, get back on the helicopter, come back up, get on the little plane, and come back to Vegas. It's absolutely brilliant.
This is not a fair question, but what's the most exciting thing you've ever done?
It depends what you mean by exciting, but
right.
The go to Rapa Nui, Easter Island. That was an event. That was
you wrote a book on it.
Yeah, that was a real highlight of my life.
You're old enough. I feel like they're going to dig up ahead of you.
I'm not that old. You know, but yeah, that's probably the
yeah.
I don't know. It depends how you feel, doesn't it? I mean, I think I always say the best place on earth is where I live, but the second best place on earth is New York.
Well, that's your skin.
But actually. But the best place I've been to is Rapa Nui. The scariest place I've been to is Baghdad, where I got detained.
Okay.
And then
the wind almost blew you off a ledge once.
Yeah, I was at Rapa Nui, and it's this place called Oahe Beach, and you climb up this cliff and go into this cave. But you can only how can I put it? You can only get it by climbing up the cliff. You can't go on the top. There's no way in it. If you want to go in it, you have to climb up the cliff. Now, bear in mind that these cliffs are about, some of them, not this one, but some of them are about 300 foot high, and they go dead straight down into the ocean, and there's sharks in the ocean, right?
Right.
So it doesn't matter how good a swimmer you are, you're probably going to be somebody's dinner.
Right.
So I'm climbing up this cliff about 20 feet. And bear in mind, I've got all my cameras with me and a tripod because I'm stupid, right? So I climb up this thing. The guy says, "Oh, it's a great view from that cave." So I think, right, that's me. I'm there. So I climb up this mountainside, this hill, this cliff, with a tripod strapped to my back.
Spider-Man here. Peter Parker.
And 4 cameras, right? Yeah. Two video cameras and 2 still cameras. So I get in this cave, and then he didn't tell me that the cave is about as big as the inside of a car. I thought it was going to be this huge thing.
Massive.
So I could only just fit in it. I'm 6'1", so I could only just fit in it. I couldn't stand up. So I'm sitting in this place and thinking, how the bloody hell am I going to get out of here? So anyway, so I thought, right, okay, well, so I set my tripod up in the back of the cave and put the camera on it on a timer. Now the cave is like, it's not flat. It's like that. The floor of the cave, and the camera's up here, up here,
at the lower, shooting upward.
Yeah. So it's coming down, looking down, and the ocean's behind me with the horizon. I thought this will be a fantastic shot. So I set the camera up and pressed the timer, and as I went back, I felt I was started to slide, and I think, well, if I got off the edge, I'm into the ocean, I'm dead.
Yeah.
And just as I got my grip again, it went click, and I've got this photograph in the book of me sort of looking like this. So then I nearly photographed my own death. So then I had to take it all down and climb down again.
You've never looked so pasty in your life.
And then I did it again a few days later at this place, excuse me, called Mataveri, near the airport, Cannibal's Cave. There's supposed to be cannibalism years back on the island because there wasn't a lot of stuff. Anyway, so I went to this cave, and this cave is really low down on the. There's no beaches, but there's one beach, but this is 10 miles from the beach, and it's you've got to go down these steps into this cave. And I've got they've got the film of it, and it's on YouTube. And so I turn around, and the guy I'm with, called Napo, he was the local who I stayed at his place, and he was showing me around and all this. The ocean, the Pacific Ocean, the biggest ocean in the world. It's not right. It doesn't care. It's very beautiful.
It doesn't care. It's indifferent.
But it doesn't care. And all of a sudden, this Napo says to me, "We've got to go. We've got to go." I'm taking pictures and film, and he says, "We've got to go." And he goes up the steps, about 20 feet up to the land, to the top of the, And I'm thinking, oh, well, I'll just take a few more pictures.
Because the tide's coming in.
Exactly. And it's breaking and splashing it. And I've filmed it, and I took pictures of it. And also, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I can hear, and on the video, you can hear this guy go, "Get out. You got to get out now. You got to get out now." I'm saying, "I'm just taking a picture. Get out, get out, get out." And then I realized what he meant. And there was like 20-foot high wave that was going to fill the cavern where I was. So I shot up this steps, about 6 steps at a time.
Yeah.
And then the next bit of the film shows the ocean 20 feet higher in the cave where I was. So, but you got to live.
Yeah, I guess the force of the water probably would have crushed you up against the cave wall and then washed you out with it.
Yeah, it doesn't care. It would have smashed me in the cave and then just taken me out.
Yeah.
So anyway, cheers everybody. I've just been handed a drink by my wife.
Cheers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Australian red. Don't know where it's from.
Okay.
I don't know where it's from.
You like a good red table wine?
Very nice. Yeah. So you got to. I think you got to do these things.
Do you have a larder? Do you have a wine rack?
Oh yeah, of course we do. Yes, it's never very full though.
Yeah.
Because we drink it.
Right.
Because what's the point of having 20 bottles of wine?
Well, I've got well over that. I've got well over 60 bottles of wine, but and I that's one thing I do is is fill that thing up, which I filled it up, but I'm going to eventually build a larger one. I do it more for I just like the aged wine type thing.
I'm going to come to your house and empty them all for you.
Okay, all right.
That's what they're for.
That's fine. Yeah, I would. I bought this undrinkable Mexican wine back in the 80s. I waited. I tried to drink it when it was brand new. It was god awful. I didn't touch another one for another 14 years. And it became the smoothest white wine over time. It was good. And then, I found a bottle like 4 years after that that I had put in a box. It was the last bottle I had. I said, I know this is going to be good, because it's 18 years old.
I went through a phase of making beer and wine, and this is in the 70s. I made some beer with my dad, and one of those kits, and it was supposed to be ready in 3 weeks. So what we did, we made it in early December for Christmas, and we put it in these little bottles about this size, and we had about 25 of these bottles. And Christmas Day we opened it, and it was the worst. So what we did, we mixed it with a can of beer, and it was okay then, you know, with a kind of real beer in it, and it was okay.
You didn't want to throw it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, or 6 or 7 months later, my dad found, we'd forgotten about these bottles. We had about 6 bottles left, and he found them in the cupboard or wherever they were, under the stairs or something. He said, "Look at these." So we tried it, and it was the best beer you've ever tasted.
Yeah.
But on the box it said ready in 3 weeks.
It just needed to age more. Yeah.
And another time I made some wine, and it was disgusting. And it was one of these kits, you know, where it's ready in a couple of months, and it was absolutely I made 2 at the same time. I made a 6-week one, and I made a 9-month batch, right? And the 6-week one was disgusting, absolutely disgusting. So I had about 6 bottles of it. So what I did, and I was going to a party, and you know, you take booze to a party. I thought, well, I'm not buying any. I'll take this stuff, right? I'll let everybody else sample it. So I drew these labels. Agent Orange, I called it, with a skull and crossbones on the label, and just put them on the side. Anyway, this guy, and this is about 1 o'clock in the morning now, you know, we've all had a couple of drinks, and all these bottles have gone. And this guy came up to me, I didn't know who he was, and he said to me, "Mike tells me you made that Agent Orange." I said, "Yeah." And I thought he was going to punch me or something because it was awful. You know, I said, "What do you think?" He said, "It's the best wine I've ever had. It's brilliant." And it was like rocket fuel, you know. He said, "Have you got any more?" I said, "No, it's all gone now. That was the last." He said, "Well, what did you put in it?" I said, "I don't know. It was some kit or something." He was bugging me all night about this bloody wine.
Yeah.
It was awful. But the 9-month stuff was really good.
Yeah. Yeah, we call rocket fuel around here moonshine.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah, just blows your head off, doesn't it?
You're right.
Oh, yeah.
Not much on taste either, really.
No, don't swallow, don't taste it. Just get it down here. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I know Doc Blaylock. He drinks that apple pie moonshine.
Right. I don't know that.
I don't think he's not convinced me that it actually tastes like apple pie.
It's actually pretty good.
Is it good?
I wouldn't mind trying it.
It's still got quite the burn to it, though. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, anything you can put in your car and run it.
This wine, this Agent Orange I made was like that thing in Steve McQueen in the Great Escape.
Oh yeah.
When they go, wow, it was like that, you know.
Yeah,
when they make that booze.
I'd forgotten that.
If you'd have flicked your lighter, you'd have flame coming out of your mouth, you know.
Here, try this. Yeah. An early W.C. Fields movie. They're trying goat's milk at the bar, Glenn, and they've got a lit candle there, and they go, and it's just like a flamethrower.
Oh.
It's a great little bit, and he's like, "Whoa, let me try that." He's like, "Whoa."
Is that where he goes 2 fingers of red eye and does that and fills the glass
up? Afterburn, you know. It's like,
he's great. One of
the best, you know, they're doing shots of just little goat's milk, and it's like that candle there, man, just like whoosh. Great bit. You're not expecting it, you know. Slapstick.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Anyway,
W.C. Fields, he knew his alcohol. He drank a lot of alcohol, but I know, you know, goat's milk. Yeah, that's the one that got him. I've never had goat's milk in my life. I imagine you have.
I don't think I have. I don't know.
You don't think you have? Okay.
I don't remember if I did.
Yeah. So is that not on your bucket? Do you have a bucket list?
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah.
You do?
I want to go to Australia. I want to go to see the pyramids. I want to go back to Easter Island. I want to go to the moon. I want to go to Mars. I want to do everything.
Well, okay. So if you went to Egypt, in Africa, you could cross off Africa and the pyramids, huh?
I could, and I missed the chance of. I could have gone to Morocco, and I didn't go. I should have gone because I would have at least touched Africa, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like. There's lots of places I'd like to go. I'd like to go to Ayers Rock in Australia.
Yeah,
you know the big rock.
How about Peru?
I've flown over Peru, but I would like to go to Peru. Yeah, to Machu Picchu.
Like Glen Tepe up there. Well, it's not. That's in Turkey, but the like the ruins.
Machu Picchu. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'd love to see all that. You know.
Well, you can't. It's very restricted now.
It is, yeah.
Because there's too many people going to see it. I don't know. And apparently, when you have to go on a certain route, you can't sort of walk around where you want to go. You'd have to go on a certain route, and you can't really stop. You're not allowed to stop. So, I'd like to see the pyramids of the Aztecs, in Mexico and Guatemala and those places. I'd like to go down there.
Well, what's the next big adventure for mankind? Is it going to Mars, or is it exploring our oceans? Back in the 30s and the early part of the 20th century, it was Africa, the black continent that was unexplored.
I think it's got to be Mars.
Yeah.
Because we've got forever to search the ocean. It's always here. I know Mars is always there, but
right.
We should go. I think we're from Mars anyway. I think we came from Mars and landed on the Earth. I don't mean as people. I mean as spores that were.
Don't you think we should set something up on the moon first, though?
Well, we can do both.
On our way to Mars.
No, because when you go to Mars, you don't necessarily need the moon. Right. To get there. The first people who go to Mars will be the first people to go to Venus. Because what you do is they'll fire the rocket and head inward to Venus and use Venus as a slingshot to get momentum to go to Mars.
My 2-letter commentary is who wants to go to Venus? You can't land there.
No, but this is what I'm saying. If you go to Mars, which is 35 million miles away, but it's really 120 because you don't go in a straight line, you go in a curve.
Right.
If you think of the fuel you would need, not to burn all the way, but to give you the blast to get you there in a nice time, because currently it's 9 months to get there. But what you would do is you would burn that engine to go to Venus, which is only 25 million miles away or something.
Only 25 million.
Yeah, but listen. And then you would use the gravitational pull of Venus to shoot you to Mars.
Yeah, right.
Slingshot effect.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because we've said about the Apollo 13 people, if they would have died, if Jim Lovell and the crew would have died, they would have been going to the moon and back like a figure 8 until the shuttle picked it up and took them off.
Right.
Which was at least 10 years later.
Yeah.
So they'd have been the first people to go to the moon 6 million times.
There's your story. I don't know if you'd have to clear it with their families, but where kind of what if, they had died and then 10 years later, the recovery of their bodies,
Nah, I don't want to write that.
Nah, it's like, I don't want to write that.
Yeah. A little on the morbid side, right?
Okay. Well, Bert, it's interesting, if history, if you take little things and tweak them, if Hitler had done this,
I'd rather
Caesar had done that,
Sorry, Shadow, what do you say?
I was just saying you could turn it into like a sci-fi story or something.
Yeah, I'd rather write the story what happened if it didn't blow up, because then Jim Lovell would have got to the moon.
Yeah,
walked on the moon. Do you know Jim Lovell's the first person to go to the moon twice?
Burkholder says asteroids. Asteroids are the next frontier. I don't know what's exciting about asteroids.
Well, they've got a lot of minerals
right, for mining.
Talking about that,
But don't forget the asteroids are past Mars, so you're gonna be even further away.
They're not like in the movies where they're close together. They may be millions.
They are,
miles apart, right?
They are, It's like apparently the galaxy Andromeda, which is the nearest galaxy to us, is already crashing with ours, but the stars are so far apart we probably won't even know.
Yeah.
which is amazing because that's
and
2.5 million light years.
The asteroid belt, you know.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's a 10th planet out there that we haven't discovered that's so far out past Pluto?
I think there is, and I think it has been discovered.
Yeah.
And I also think the asteroid belt is a planet that was torn between the gravitational pull of Jupiter and Mars and didn't form or was destroyed by it.
Yeah.
And that's what that is. It's just the debris of it.
Well, I was saying on the show prior to this one over on the Rex X and Apex show that I felt like, you know, I said, don't give up, Jeffrey. You may, you know, William Shatner gave hope to all of us. I feel like he's in his 90s going up to space for a brief time and coming back down. Anybody can, Glenn, even at your age.
I know, but
you could go to space, brother.
But I don't have $200,000. If I did, I would.
Yeah,
I would. I said
Look,
this on
brother,
the show.
If I had it, I'd give it to you just so I could see the smile on your face.
Well,
you know?
Thank you. But you see, I would never, not because of what happened to those guys the other week and they're going to the Titanic, I would never go down there.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Certainly. I mean, what's he called? Cameron went down to the bottom of the Mariana Strait. That's 7 miles. He went down further than Everest is high. Right? And the Titanic is about 2 miles down. I would never go down to the Titanic, but I'd go into orbit or to the moon.
Or a little micro crack can just, you know.
Well, it could in space, but I'd rather go in space.
Yeah.
Into space than go down into the ocean.
Yeah.
If only that you can see further. You can't see in the ocean, can you? Because it's so dark.
It's so dark, right? Yeah.
You know, you can't see anything. And when they get down there, they turn the floodlights on, and there's a Titanic, and it must be wonderful. But I wouldn't go down there. I'd go in space.
You know, it's not like when you and I grew up. When you were 14, I was 3.5. I mean, there was general excitement about space and astronauts. And if I had to define the 60s, I would say civil rights movement, Vietnam. Of course, the assassinations were a big thing.
Yeah,
and then and astronauts, you know, the space movement for sure.
Yeah,
you know? The space race and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, you know, a few other things, but you know, but that was, you know, music, just the generation being so much different from the one prior, of course.
Yeah.
But in color TV, you know,
not
that color TV hadn't been around, you know, but it became accessible for and still up into the 70s, you know, people didn't have color TVs. It took a while, you know, technology and innovation takes a while to take hold. And now you can go get a whole wall full of TV for, you know.
Well, we got our first television in 1970, color television, when we were in we got our first color television in 1971.
And it was a piece of furniture.
Yeah, I've got a picture. I've got a photograph of it. It's like a sideboard. I've got a photograph. I'll send it to you. Yeah, I've got a photograph of it. And it had these sliding doors on it. You know, it was this big screen. It was great. And the thing for me, it was great because I went to work that morning. I was 16. I went to work, and I knew the television was being delivered that afternoon. And when I came home, the television man was still there, and Thunderbirds was on. How good is that?
Yeah,
you know, Jerry Anson's Thunderbirds, my favorite program. So that was on.
Yeah,
gift from God.
I'm envious of both you and Dave because you got to see some episodes that don't exist anymore of TV. You know, like Doctor Who episodes and other things that have since been erased.
Yeah,
we have the audio, but we don't have the video. Although they're saying for the 60th anniversary that 4 of the first Doctor and 4 of the second Doctor have been Patrick Troughton has been recovered. So I don't know. There's always that in the news over there.
I've not seen that,
hope so.
But I hope it happens.
Yeah, because I think they have at least a couple episodes of The Smugglers, which I like. It's like Barbary Coast piracy, you know, type thing. It's a very good story for the first Doctor. It's one of my favorites on audio, you know.
See, when I was a kid in the mid-60s, I was bathing in this stuff. There was all this science fiction stuff like The Outer Limits and The Twilight Zone, and there was Star Trek, and then there was the reality of going to the moon. And then there were all the comics, with Jack Kirby comics and British comics, and I didn't drown in it, but I was just
Alfred
immersed.
Hitchcock.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was pop culture, wasn't it, for the very first time in a way?
Yeah.
Well, sci-fi
really
took off huge, and
yeah, that's right.
And
so
I mean, do you think we became more materialistic at that point?
No,
in a way?
No. I think we've always been this way. It's just the availability that changed.
Yeah.
You know,
I can't get things.
Yeah, I can't, and they're affordable. I can't believe that Ugg the Caveman, if he would have had the opportunity to have a television, wouldn't have had one.
Right. Of
you
course.
know, or a pair of shoes, But now it's the availability now. But where the world's gone now, from my point of view, is that we had all that, then there was the availability, and now there's the entitlement. The kids of today think they're entitled to this stuff, but they don't know where it came from. It's like we're getting back to artwork. I get poo-pooed on these podcasts because I use a pencil and a piece of paper, and they think I'm old and old school. That's just the biggest insult ever.
Oh, Glenn,
I just don't.
You're just paranoid.
Well, because you're paranoid, don't mean you're wrong.
You're right. I'm just trying to be funny.
And it doesn't matter. I mean, even these people that are new school, I mean, they're using a digital tablet and a digital chisel. It's still the same thing. There's so many shortcuts in the digital world.
What do you think about AI,
I
Glenn?
feel that's kind of cheating,
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, that's right.
What do you think about AI coming about?
I think it's like everything else. I think it's like everything else. It'll be a burden and it'll be a blessing. It's like the internet.
Yeah.
Look at the internet. Look at the crap that's on the internet. But I don't have to go to the library anymore. I can access anything I want via this computer.
Oh,
so that's the good side of it.
I think you could get a PhD on, on YouTube. You don't even necessarily have to go through, I think some of the most creative thinkers were like Thomas Edison. They were, he had a third grade education. He, thought out of the box.
But he knew a guy called Tesla still, he got his ideas.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. I got to agree with that.
He was an opportunist rather than an inventor.
He was. Yeah. He exploited a lot of things. But what I'm saying is that.
And I know what Glenn is saying about AI in general, but what about AI art, Glenn? Have you seen this?
Well, again, it takes away the humanity and the talent. If you can just tell something to produce you a Spider-Man story with the artwork,
right?
Where's the joy in that? Where's the toil in that?
Yeah. Jeffrey was saying that Hollywood was going to use AI for scripts.
So I can't hear you both talking.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
No, I was just saying at that point, what have you really created? You're not, you're just
exactly
throwing adjectives at a blender.
Yeah, that's right. See, this is part of the argument I have with computer artwork. I'm not saying don't do it. People want to do it. It's only a tool. But people say to me that they can undo their mistakes. Well, I don't make the mistakes.
Yeah,
it's a different. It's a different discipline. Get it right. Try to get it right, rather than have 15,000 undo buttons.
I'm going to get one last astronaut question in here. Who's your favorite astronaut out of all of them?
Charlie Duke, Apollo 16 lunar module pilot. I interviewed him. I interviewed Gene Cernan, who was commander of Apollo 17, who was the last man to walk on the moon. And I also interviewed Alan Shepard. Alan Shepard, who was the first American in space and the fifth man on the moon.
Did he leave his daughter's bracelet on the moon, like from Earth to Moon, on the show? The last man to walk on the moon?
Gene Cernan. I don't know about that, but I know he wrote her name, Tracy, in 10 feet high letters by dragging his foot, like on the sand on a desert island. So her name is there, cool. Tracy, which is pretty neat. And then Shepard had the golf ball that's never been revealed, and I'm not going to reveal it. the name of it, because they told him he was going to, because he was a golfer and he took a certain make of ball.
Yeah,
and they told him when just before, he told them what he was going to, but he didn't tell them he was going to do it until he was there. And apparently, allegedly, might be wrong, might just not be true. They said to him, if you do that and reveal what that is, we'll charge you for the mission, which is about $10 billion.
Right.
So he never revealed what it was.
Yeah.
But he did hit it. He did hit it, but they never revealed what it was.
Yeah. Which you just see a bunch of dust go up, right?
Yeah. Well, he said Edgar Mitchell, who was with him, watched it, and he said, and on the video, Alan Shepard says, there it goes for miles and miles and miles, and Edgar Mitchell chuckles because he said in his book, because it only went about 3 feet.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So, you know, they had a laugh and everything, but yeah. But yeah, Charlie Duke, because I love his Carolina drawl.
Well, there was, you know, they said you had to look up to see the Earth. It wasn't on the horizon. It was, you know, above them.
The what?
The Earth.
The Earth.
From the moon.
Well, it wasn't directly overhead, but it wasn't on the horizon. No.
Right.
That film you've seen of Earthrise was taken by Bill Anders on Apollo 8, the famous one.
So you can see Earthrise from
yes,
the moon.
but the Earth isn't rising. That's them coming around the curve of the moon.
Yeah, it's the moon actually.
Right.
The Earth isn't actually moving.
Right.
Well, it is moving, but it's not.
Oh,
moving
come on, Glenn! You said
you.
a lot of things, but
I'm telling you.
I'm going to jump on that one.
Because you're on the moon.
The Earth isn't moving.
That's right.
Come on.
Yeah. It's your point of view. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, you've got to.
And you give Ryan a hard time over his flat Earth.
Well, if anybody thinks the Earth's flat, then.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? We're, you know, at this point, and we're still having the debate.
There's no debate.
I don't think that's serious. I think most of those flat Earth people are just trying to yank our chain.
Yes, yeah. But there's no debate. The Earth. I've seen the curvature of the Earth. I went up in an aircraft to, I think it was about 50,000
that footage
feet.
in itself of the guys on the moon filming, you know, as the moon rotates around the Earth is proof enough.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, yeah. So. It's just
they say the American flag that we planted is probably all white by now. That all the colors been.
Oh yeah, it was all done in Hollywood, right? That's what.
Yeah. So does that mean we surrendered the moon?
Well, you didn't have it in the first place, did you?
Well, no.
There was a treaty signed by the Soviet Union and the United States that nobody would claim the moon.
And we know that they would never break that treaty, or that China.
Well, I agree with you, but we'll never know because they never got there, did they? They were never going to get there.
Well, now the Chinese are talking about going there. India and other places.
The Chinese are already there, and India have just landed something on the.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I haven't heard that. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know whether China have got any astronauts there or not, but I think we know about that. But
well, now, how would we stop a nation from weaponizing the moon? Isn't the best thing?
What they're going to do? But what are they going to do? They're going to take a lot of nuclear weapons up there and point them at us, are they? What are they going to do with them?
Well, blow the moon out of orbit like the.
Why would they do that? But why would they do that?
Yeah.
We'd all die.
Self-defeating.
Yeah, we'd all die, wouldn't we?
Yeah, that was a Space 1999 reference.
It's the same reason. Yeah, that's just ridiculous. It's the same reason, right? Why there'll never be a nuclear war. Do you know why? Yeah. Because nobody wins.
Nobody wins.
And these people, as much as you might deride them, they're not stupid.
What about Iran? They want to bring Iran into the world.
No, but they don't want to die. No. They're not going to destroy the Earth and they die. They might destroy everybody else and they live, but they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
They're not. It's just all deflection. It's all to keep us in check and keep us worried about things.
Yeah. I guess you saw the thing on the space aliens in Mexico. That's ridiculous. That's been debunked.
Well, what a surprise.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I think it's to get us to talking about that and not impeachment or other things that are on the board, you know?
If you want to read, if you want to, I can show you. I think I can. I can show you.
You can do it, Glenn. I have faith.
Just
take another sip of that wine, Glenn.
Yeah. What you need to read is this.
Yeah. And you've got what, 5 of those up on the campaign?
I don't know, I've got about 10, I think. Because inside it is that. Right?
Oh, cool.
You're showing stuff Galileo couldn't even show in his day.
I know. And then you get to the chart. Right? Sorry about the camera.
Yeah. It is.
So you need to read that. That'll tell you what's going on.
Red alert, red alert.
Yeah. So you need to do that.
I'm glad to see that you've tidied your studio up there, Glenn.
I haven't touched it. I haven't touched it.
Rex, you want to maybe drop Glenn's link in the chat? It might be a good idea.
The links are down in the description already, Shadow Hockey.
I understand that, but
I can't
we got no mods dumping it.
I can do that.
Come on, mod.
Okay, I'm doing it right now.
I put the link in the private chat because I can't put it in the public because it.
That's fine.
I was looking at the regular chat and
give me bank details and all.
I can do away with all you people and just bring up Hatch. You know,
there you go.
Unfund my comic. Yeah.
Yeah, play that film there.
Okay. All right. I'm going to chop it up. Sorry about this, Glenn.
Hatch is not your average cartoon character.
Now, I have to stop this right here.
Yes.
Now, this is your wife.
Yes.
No, this is your wife, isn't it?
Yeah, talking, yeah.
That's her narrating, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Far from it. Hatch lives on a remote asteroid far out in space and has no knowledge of anywhere else.
Oh,
his day compounds bewilderment with disbelief as his life unfolds before him. A life he marvels at, embraces, and is ultimately frustrated by, albeit in a comedic way. This 100-page, full-colour, annotated edition of Hatch not only boasts an in-depth interview with creator Glenn B. Fleming.
That would be you, right, Glenn?
That's me.
Okay. How did you come up with Hatch?
Well, all this is revealed in the book, but what I did was I was told you I had a comic art studio and I was designing strip cartoons, and he was the best one because I've got about 10 of them.
Okay.
And the idea was to submit it to King Features and have a strip in the newspapers. But by then, even the late 80s, by then strip cartoons were disappearing from the newspapers and newspapers were disappearing. So it didn't go anywhere with that. So I just kept producing it, and I didn't do it all the time, but I kept going back to it. And then a few years ago, I just decided to really try and work on it and get the comic book out, which I've done and all that kind of thing. Yeah. And the second one,
how many Hatch books are there out there now?
Well, there's only one at the moment. There's the first one, The Next Day.
Okay.
That's on the campaign. You can get a PDF or you can get a real one from me.
Right.
The next one is part 2, which is this one.
Okay.
Which has been ready for nearly 2 years, but COVID and all that kind of stuff going on. That's going to be out in a few weeks by New Haven Publishing. And the Hatch Annotated on the Fund My Comic is like the what's the word? It tells you all about his origins. There's no story in there.
Right.
It tells you, it's like a companion volume. If you buy that, if you look at that, you'll understand the strip more.
And so what is Swamp Gas?
Swamp Gas was just an ash can that I produced.
An ash can.
When I did my Kirby book a couple of years ago.
Right.
I sent this with.
That's a large ash can. Just saying.
You know, that's the way it was, and it's just it's a 5-page story, and you know.
All right, shut up, Glenn. We're back to you right now.
I'll shut up. Yeah.
As he takes us through the evolution of this lovable character, it also presents previously unseen original artwork from the Hatch archive. All this, along with the creator's annotation and anecdotes, make this book a must for the connoisseur of sequential art.
Now you work in all kinds of media, right? But now, do you prefer watercolor?
Yeah, the colored ink. Yeah, I like working in that.
It's colored ink. That's right.
Yeah. I also do oil paintings as well, but nothing.
Now,
not
are
comics,
you doing those on the boards that you got a great deal on, or?
I don't understand what you mean.
Or are you using like certain particular paper, or are you using those boards that you got reams and reams of?
Oh yeah, that's all De La Rowney artboard. Yeah, and I use cartridge paper and stretch it.
Yeah,
and then I can color.
I'm going to order something from you, and I want you to send me one of those. I want you to tell me what it is, and I want to see that thing. I want to see
the board.
The board, yeah.
Right,
it can be a swatch. It can be a small piece.
Yeah.
I would like to see what you're talking about and see the tooth of it. And you know, I would, because I'm unaware of that, and you've got so much of it and have done so much work. Yeah.
I told you about that when I got all that stuff, didn't I? And there was each sheet. I showed you the photograph. Each sheet should have been £8 each sheet, imperial size, about 23 by 23, and each sheet should have been £8, and I got about 80 sheets for £35 because they were closing down. I just went in and I just bought a lot. I don't need to buy any board for the rest of my life. I've just got tons of it.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's brilliant. But I like using colored inks. I use colored crayon as well. I've colored a few things in crayon. I did a children's book, which is going to be reissued soon through New Haven again, and that's all in colored pencil. And that art is huge. It's
I would like to see something done by you, done in oil crayon. I think that would be awesome. Have you ever used oil crayons?
Not for a while.
Yeah, probably college years.
Yeah, long time ago, out of school or whatever. Yeah, but I've got tons of artwork. I've got a piece of artwork from college. It's 50 years old, and it's been in my folder for 50 years. I get it out every 10 years and think I should frame this. So I'm going to take it to framers next week and get this bloody thing framed because it deserves to be on the wall.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever, Helen's seen it, but nobody's ever, well, she saw it just after I'd finished it. That's when we met. And everybody at school, at college thought it was great and all this kind of thing. And there was a guy came in from an art studio that was sort of seeing us as students, and he saw it and he wanted to take it away with him and get copies done. So I was going to let him, but my tutor came to me and said, did he ask you to take that artwork to blah, blah, blah? And I said, yeah. He said, well, don't let him, because if you do, you'll never see it again. You'll never see a print and you'll never see the artwork. So I didn't let him take it. Yeah, so I didn't let him take it, and I've still got it. But it should go on the wall. I've got to put it on the wall.
Yeah,
got to get it framed and put it on the wall, because otherwise, as I say to people, I've got tons of artwork, thousands of sheets and drawings through my life, and I want to sell them all, because I think, well, when I die, either somebody will throw them in the bin or sell them, and they'll have the money. Well, I want the money. They're mine.
Yeah. So you're offering some of that up on the campaign, I know.
The artwork for Swamp Gas is up on the campaign, plus a couple of other pieces.
Yeah.
There's a Norman Rockwell.
Don't get too excited, Shadow.
There's a Norman Rockwell sort of piece that I like.
People can donate just $1, right? No reward, just because you care.
They can if they want to, but I prefer they bought the book.
Well, sure, yeah. Glenn B. Fleming has been writing and drawing as long as he can remember. Is that true?
It's true, yeah.
Okay. And when did you start your artistic journey?
I'd say when I was about 5.
Okay. What was the one? Was it comic books or what?
I created a comic called Spitfire with my friend at school, was Paul Cook, and we used to draw. And I can remember the first strip I drew was called Monsters from the Black Bog.
Okay.
And I can remember the designs of them. I don't have the original work, but I always remember I never had grandparents, right? I never had any grandparents, and I would not see people on Sundays because they were going to see their grandparents. And one day I was at Paul's, and Paul was good at drawing, and we were doing this comic called The Spitfire, and we were drawing monsters from the Black Bog. And his grandma, who was about 950 years old then, asked us what we were doing. We were drawing it while we were lying on the floor in the lounge in his house, and she asked us what we were doing. And Paul said, "It's a comic. Me and Glenn draw this comic." And she said, "Well, who's drawn it?" And he said, "Well, I have and Glenn has." And she told him off for lying. She didn't believe it. So
yeah.
So I was about 7 or 8, and but I remember drawing earlier than that.
Now Gary Anderson had a Spitfire that was a rocket. Was yours rocket related, or?
It was just the name of the comic.
Okay. Yeah.
But it was early science fiction, you know.
You think about it. You and I, we were influenced in a way, more you because you're older. Sorry about that. But we were only 20 years away from being in World War II. I mean,
exactly.
The 60s were only 20 years later.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I was born in 1955. I was 10 years after the war.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know. But I do. The first kind of art I remember seeing was when I was nearly 5. It's about November 1959. We moved house, and we lived in this house. I was talking about this the other day. The house I grew up in is a listed building. The house I grew up in is older than the United States. It's a cottage, right?
Wow.
And when we went there, I can remember vividly going in. I'm only nearly 5, 2 months off 5. And we walked in, and nobody had lived in this house for 13 years.
Oh, that's not
1959. So since 1946, whatever the thing is, nobody had lived in it. But the guy who'd lived in it, he'd drawn on the walls, and he'd drawn townscapes, you know, buildings and cobbled streets, and he'd drawn them on the walls. They were like big murals.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing them. And then I remember my dad getting some paint and painting over it and putting wallpaper on stuff. So I just wonder whether that unlocked something in me. These fantastic drawings on the walls that this guy had done. So that's the earliest I remember. Nearly 5.
Wally J. Jaw says Art T. Bear's first house. No, Wally, it wasn't either. Yeah, mate, you got to wonder if he was drawing from memory. You know, when he was a child with cobblestone streets.
I think he must have been, because like I said, there's no internet for reference. And he might have had a book in front of him. He might have copied it. I don't know.
Right.
But the thing is that these things were done in the 40s because nobody had been in it for 13 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they might have been done in the 30s. I don't know.
Have you been to any of the caves that are over there that have cave drawings?
Not here, no.
Yeah.
I've seen them in Rapa Nui and.
Have you been to France? Have you been to France?
I've been to France several times. Yeah.
Okay. I just, you have the Lascaux cave system over there.
I've not been to that. No. I've been to Paris and Boulogne.
Yeah. What's your number one thing on your bucket list right now, besides your wife?
It's to do with Helen. To take Helen to New York.
Yeah. Okay.
She's not been to New York, and I've been.
You want to go to New York?
Times.
Glenn.
Well, I don't know. I keep hearing these bad things, but
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. I mean, it was pleasurable when I went in '87, but that was back in '87. It's.
Yeah, but the last time I went was 2005. And
it's been in a power dive since 2005.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, you want to see for yourself. Well,
I just want to. I might not stay there. I might go somewhere else as well. But I want to take her.
Right.
I told her 50 years ago I'd take her to America.
Wiley says, "Go to Texas instead." Why? How's that an option?
Well, I've been to Texas. Was the first place I went.
Yeah.
I've been all over the United States. I've been from coast to coast and all through the middle.
You've been to Cape Canaveral and.
Yeah. That's where I landed the shuttle.
Why do you think Kennedy was assassinated? Do you think it was because he was trying to get us back on the gold standard or something else?
It was elements of lots of things. He was going to pull out of Vietnam. He was introducing new taxes for the oil people. Bobby was pissing the mafia off,
right?
And everything above.
Okay, then who took him out? Was the CIA involved, do you think?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And that's all we'll say about that. You know, they still haven't declassified a lot of that stuff.
Well, all you have to do is read my 2 books about it, and you'll know where I stand.
Okay. All right.
Go to Amazon and put my name in.
That's a good salesman, folks. Most of your stuff are available at local bookstores, aren't they? For order.
Yeah. Go to Amazon, and you can see everything I've done on there.
Okay. Yeah, you brought up JFK, so I thought I'd throw a JFK question in there.
No, you brought him up. I didn't bring him up.
I did? Me?
Yeah, I didn't bring him up.
How did I bring him up?
About the assassination. I didn't mention that.
No, I mean earlier you mentioned JFK. Earlier you did. Yeah.
Well, he was,
and then of course he was the one that said we choose to go to the moon, right?
Yeah, but it was actually it was a Lyndon Johnson idea rather than JFK. JFK wasn't really interested in the space program, but as he was president and thought he could get in boats, that's what. And the Russians were going to get there. They never were, but we didn't know them, right. And so he went along with that.
So it's pretty much pitting the Russians against in the Cold War scare. Yeah. I mean, we forget that because we came out of that under Reagan in the Reagan years.
Yeah,
the Cold War and Brezhnev with his eyebrows and Nixon.
Yeah, the thing is that what people should realize, and they don't, they should realize this, that in the 60s, the United States were almost bankrupted because they were going to the moon, right, which cost $25 billion US.
Vietnam War.
Yeah. Hang on, listen. They were going to the moon. That cost $25 billion, and people say, "What a waste of money that was."
Yeah.
At the same time, the Vietnam War was costing $300 billion, and that was a real waste of time, wasn't it? Thousands of people dead, hundreds of thousands of people dead, 58,000 Americans, 1 million Vietnamese, and cost $300 billion.
Right.
While going to the moon didn't kill anyone for much less.
Yeah, killed a couple.
Wally J. Dross says, "Do you know this artist here?"
No, I don't. What did he do? I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to see the name. I couldn't tell you.
Somebody in McLaughlin.
Oh, I just happen to have these by my feet.
Yeah, I've got that. Yeah, I've got that.
Do you? Okay. Yeah. All right, you got that. All right. Got to try harder with you. And then there's this. Do you have that?
I do.
The checklist? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just can't stump you, Glenn. I'm not even going to try today.
Have you got this? Have you got this one?
Uh-oh. What do we got here? I do not. No, I do not.
This has got all kinds of stuff in it.
Oh yeah, his 50s Foxhole there.
It's a really good book.
Yeah.
It's by someone.
Dan Lawless in the house. All right.
It's by them.
Okay. All right. By them. That's what I would do.
That's a good book.
Yeah, Ralph Cramden Powell, right to the moon.
But the book you want is that book. That's the book you want.
I think that's by Glenn Fleming.
I don't know who he is, but he went to see him a couple of times.
Comes with a DVD, right?
You get the DVD through me. You can't get it in the book.
Is that region 2?
I can. Yeah, that's not a problem. I supply that. Yeah.
Okay, because Shadowhawk said his wouldn't play, and I said it's probably the wrong region. I have a multi-regional player.
Really? Well, contact me and I'll send you one.
Oh no, that's all right, Glenn. I just got to get a better player. I got a cheap ass DVD player.
If you ever If you ever come visit me, Shadowhawk, just remember, bring that DVD. We'll try it out on my on my multi-regional player, and if it plays,
you did,
you just got the wrong region.
I didn't send you the PAL version, did I? It must have been the NTSC.
I'd have to look at it, Glenn. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, you should let me know.
Oh, no, it was no big deal. I kind of figured after I thought about it, I was like, man, I bet you it's a regional thing. I got the wrong
Yeah,
player.
yeah. I don't know why people
Because they
just
would
want to
play, but
buy.
it would freeze and then have a lot of weird, little sound things going on.
I don't know why people want to continue to buy American, Region 1 players. Buy a multi-regional. I bought one online for $25, Glenn. Yeah. Still serving me well. Bought
the last
another
one
one
I picked up, Rex, was like on sale for less than $20. I didn't even look at what the regions were on it.
Well, yeah, most people don't, but and usually if you're going to buy a multi-regional here in the States, you usually have to go online to get it, like eBay. But yeah, I picked one up for $25, Glenn. Somebody bought it, played something, didn't like how the setup of it wasn't their thing. But I love it. It's just a little unit about this big. It doesn't take up a lot of room. I've got another one that I bought prior to that that's a little bit more, rectangular and larger, more bells and whistles for $60. But they're affordable and you can play anything in the world, on
it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just got to get one of those.
But the one thing that it does have problems with, Glenn, every now and then are the Marvel movies. For some reason, trying to play them in English.
Well, I don't care about that because I don't watch them.
I know.
I've not. The last film I watched was
not a problem.
Yeah, was Watchmen. That's the last thing I saw.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. You are dating yourself.
No, no, that's not true. I did see the real Kirby thing where Chris Evans is Cap and is in the elevator with the Shield agent. So that's a good piece. But I've not seen the entire film. Where he beats
was that the first Avengers, maybe?
I don't know. Is it Winter Soldier or something it's called? I don't know.
The second.
But it's that bit is real Kirby.
Yeah.
And I think that was great. I like Chris Evans as Captain America. He's good.
Yeah, I think that's the second Captain America, right, Shadowhawk, that he's talking about?
Winter Soldier? Yeah, I think that's the second Captain America.
Yeah. That's one that they point to as a high.
I mean, there were so many Marvel movies that I lose track of, but a lot of them had good moments. It was just the overall was not there.
Right. My brother, a few years, about 10 years ago now, I suppose, my brother that's on the back behind me, he bought me the 3 Captain America films in a box set, and I've not opened it yet.
Oh, yeah, cool.
So I've got
those were some of the better ones out of the Marvel movies.
Well, don't feel bad. My brother bought me the Star Wars on VHS, the big box set, whatever. Still have it. I covet those things. I'll tell you why. After about 8 or 10 years or something, they don't play or they snap, whatever, they age out, but they're not like disc. But I want to see the original, I want to see the original Star Wars the way it was. It was just fine the way it was before they started embellishing on it later, 10 years later. And it's hard to find an original copy anymore, that just shows you the original Star Wars.
You can find the remaster one.
I was watching a documentary on that, and they did in the audience the very same thing that they did in the audience that I was in when I was, a kid, early going into my teens when I saw it, was when they hit hyperspace. Everybody went, ooh. We'd never seen anything like that before. Now it's secondary, but back then it was like, wow. It was one of those wow moments at the movies that rarely come along.
They've gone to
rarely come along. It's hard to surprise audiences now, Glenn.
Yeah, I quite agree.
Our expectations and just the younger people are so sophisticated in some of this stuff. It's the wow factors.
But this is why when you watch things like Michael Rennie and the Day the Earth Stood Still from 1951,
right? Yeah,
with Gort the robot, and it's ridiculous. That robot is ridiculous by today's standards, but it's an absolutely brilliant film.
Yeah,
it's brilliant. It's just fantastic, and that's the kind of stuff I was watching when I was a kid. Like I tell you a film I hope they never remake, and that's Jason and the Argonauts. That was the first film I saw without my parents at the cinema.
Ray Harryhausen, right?
Yeah, and I was 9.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what happened. It was Paul Cook, who was my friend who was drawing the Spitfire, and his grandma didn't like it. He had a birthday party, and we were there at his house for an hour, and his mother gave us all this money to go to the cinema to get rid of us, and Jason the Argonauts was on the screen, and I'm sitting there, I'm 8 years old, 9 years old, with all my friends watching this fantastic film, and people say, "Oh, the effects are rubbish." Well, you know, it's not real. You know, it's brilliant. People say that about Thunderbirds and Jerry Anderson. Oh, you can see the strings.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's part of it, isn't it? They're not meant to be real people. If they were meant to be real people, he'd have put real people in it.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that jerk. You know, we consider it jerky stuff. Here's a link to Dan Lawless's drawing video again in the chat. If you haven't checked that out, go check that out. Dan Lawless did a gestural
in the chat.
Drawing tutorial that's about 25 minutes long. It won't take you a lot of time to watch. I'm glad he started doing those. We'll talk about that a little bit later today, but right now we have the awesome, the incredible Glenn B. Fleming, who before the internet I had never heard of. You're the best kept secret of the UK.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Well, according to your wife.
According to my wife. Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. Just tell those guys in Iraq that. Yeah.
It's not many people that said, wasn't it 30 years? It took you 30 years to marry your sweetheart.
Yeah, we met 50 years ago, August 16th, just gone.
Right.
And we dated for 2 years. We went to college, and then we split up. And I saw her a couple of times, and then I didn't see her or speak to her for 25 years. And I just started researching my JFK book when we met, and I eventually got around to writing my book and published it. And I didn't know where she was. I've not seen her for 25 years, and I sent a copy to her mum and dad's house. And then I got a phone call off this young lady one Saturday afternoon. It was a voice I didn't remember, didn't realize, and it was Helen. And she rang me up, and I said, "Oh," I hadn't spoken to her for 25 years.
Yeah.
And she said, she got the book, thanks, and all that. And she said, and she wanted to invite me to her dad's barbecue. And I said, "Yeah, when is it?" And she said, "Now."
Wow.
So I got in the car and shot down to her dad's, which is only about a couple of miles away. And I was walking up the drive, and I saw her. And if her dad and her then husband hadn't seen me already, which they had, I would have turned on my heel, because it was like, boom. I hadn't seen or spoken to her for 25 years, and it was like, boom. And I thought, so like I say, if her dad and her husband hadn't seen, because he knew I was, I would have gone home.
Yeah.
But anyway, we got together and we got married in 2012.
Is that intimidation? Why? I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. What's going on there?
It was the same as I felt in 1975 when I'd seen her.
Yeah, you're feeling.
Because I didn't want to split up with her, but we did, and it was the same. And I hadn't seen her. I'd seen her twice. I'd seen her twice in 30 years, and I hadn't seen her for 25 of those 30.
Dan says that's a wonderful story. Congratulations.
Yeah. So we got married in 2012. So we've been married 13 years now.
The good guy got to win in the ending of that story. You know?
Yeah. So there you go.
How your life would have been different if you'd stayed together all that time.
Yes, it would have done, but it wasn't to be, was it? So, you know.
You're right.
I think you only get one.
Wound up with a happy ending anyway.
Yeah. And I'm going to have to go now, because she'll be wanting dinner.
Oh yeah. She's a good cook, huh?
She's a fantastic cook. Yeah.
Yeah.
I made a curry sauce today, and she finishes it off.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So.
Well, I appreciate it, Glenn. You're going to have to come back on. We're going to have to get more in depth on the hatch, and this is just the start of the campaign. You're over on Fund My Comic right now. You have 3 backers. which doesn't sound like a lot, but you're 45% there. You're asking for $500.
Yeah, there's been a few problems with their website. I think they fixed them now, but I'm sure there's more than 3 backers. I know it says 3 backers, but I'm sure there's more. But anyway, that's yeah. So people just please go over there and take a look and consider. You know,
it'll be more shortly, Glenn.
So again, Shadow.
I said it will be more shortly, Glenn.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
He's like, wait till payday, which was Friday for him. I haven't got
my
payday yet.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So
we appreciate you coming on, Glenn. As always, you've got wonderful stories. You've lived a hell of a life. You know, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I hope that you and I can work in the future together.
Yeah, we need to get that book done. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to get her some more scans. That's not all the Jack Adlers I have. I have other things. Been digging up some other stuff. You know that. Well, maybe Glenn would like to use this, and I'll get that scanned. You know, so I'm trying to be proactive with it. You've not even seen my friend's collection of Adlers, so we'll combine the two. Plus, we may be able to get the guy that sold them to us. You know, that still has a whole bunch of them. Together, I think we've got. I think together, I and my friend have some of the best ones. Because I was really going after some of the best, you know.
Yeah, we need to get it out. We need to get it out. Yeah. We need to do a series of them.
Yeah. Well, now you just finished a soccer book.
Yeah.
Right. That's available.
That's on Amazon as well. It's you can get that from New Haven Publishing as well.
Your Easter Island book, of course.
Yeah, that's
what are some really quickly. What are some of the other books that you've come out with that you published?
I've got 2 Kennedy assassination books. I've got a book about the astronauts who didn't go to the moon. Apollo astronaut didn't go to the moon. I've got a children's book. I've got an adult humor book. I've got 2 science fiction novels. I've got a Jack Kirby book. I've got 2 soccer, as you call it, books. So there's 11 or 12 books there, and then there's also a lot of magazines and things I've been involved with and still am involved with. But if you go on Amazon, just put my name in Amazon, you'll see them all.
You do a quarterly called Comics Unlimited.
Yeah, and I do Comics Unlimited, and that's number 13 is just out now.
Yes, with my article.
Yeah.
With my very short article.
With your article and my drawing of John Romita.
And your drawing on the cover, which is brilliant. I got to see an early draft of that. It looked great.
Great, thank you. But I've not got my copy, otherwise I'd show you. But it is there.
I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, maybe I you know, hopefully you'll have it next time we have you on. But don't be a stranger. We do want to get with you. We need to talk, you know, and see where we're going. But thank your brilliant wife for us. Your wonderful wife for giving us an hour and a half of your life or so to interview you. It's always a pleasure, Glenn.
Yeah, pleasure is all mine.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'll see you soon. See you, Shadow.
Thank you, Glenn.
And I'll talk to you all later.
Sounds good, sir. Sounds good.
See you later.
Shadowhawk, what you got planned before the 4 o'clock shadow? You gonna start some early dinner or what?
The wife is going all crazy this weekend. It's my youngest 13th birthday today. So,
wow. Okay. Well, happy birthday to your youngest.
She's gonna have her best friend come over for a sleepover, and she requested a special dinner from Mom tonight. So the rare occasion that Rosie whips up a batch of tamales.
Oh, so okay. Yeah, that takes a little bit of time, right, to make?
Oh, yeah. She started working on it last night.
Because she does it by scratch, right?
Yeah. Like I said, she started working on them last night. So, it's going to be quite a little festivity here for my youngest. And she's an official teenager.
I wonder how long the Rex Hex and Apex show went without me. I think Hex was getting ready to shut it down then. We really didn't get to cover things too well. But I did want to get this interview.
I missed like the first hour. I think I was hanging out over on Red Dress or something. I forget who I was.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I just happened to pop in. I was like, oh, shit.
Wow, that's not even showing up on my history. The Rex Hex and Apex show. Maybe we got struck down for something.
I don't know. Last I heard, because right after you bailed out, I was still in the chat, and Apex and Hex were like, "Well, maybe we'll bring Shadow in and keep it going." And I was like, "Sorry guys, I gotta go too."
Yeah.
That's the last I saw.
Yeah, I didn't tell him why he was only available for an hour, but I did want to get this interview in with Glenn. He's been wanting to talk about,
and I didn't
don't know
miss
how much
it,
we talked about Hatch, but we'll have him on again,
I know, and I'm usually pretty quiet.
I can't wait to work with the guy, I've sent him a file.
I just like to hear him tell stories. So I may be a little quiet when Glenn's here, but that's just out of respect, man. I let him go.
Hey, he's living history. We won't tell him when he's on, but
I've been around and done a bunch of crazy shit, but Glenn has been all over the world and done some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
So.
I've never been out of the United States. The closest I ever came was looking over into Canada or to the Pacific Ocean, or the Gulf, that's, and, to New York, which is its own strange place, but even back then, but
I've been to Canada, Central America, and the Bahamas, but that's about it for.
You're just a party animal back in the day.
Well, a little bit.
Look, all you had to tell me was Grace Slick kissed me at 16. That's all I needed to hear.
Hey, I just happened to have some good connections in a small town where I grew up, so I had backstage access to a lot of really cool concerts.
Oh yeah, yeah. My own wife, she used to, pal around with Poison a lot, although I don't know why you'd want to. But
you told me that story.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, she used to be a performer herself out there in California in Orange County at Knott's Berry Farm. I had never heard of Knott's Berry Farm.
Did you say she was a dancer or something out there?
She was a dancer, yeah. Back when she was in her
landing in the Hollywood tale. Look at him.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that's what they'll put on my tombstone, right? Near great. He got close, but
they didn't call him Sexy Rexy back in the day for nothing.
It was either Sexy Rexy or Rexy Sexy. Take your pick. I respond to both. Still do.
Just don't call him late for dinner.
Don't call me late for dinner. Hell no. Now today on the 5 o'clock shadow.
5 o'clock.
4 o'clock shadow. I just thought I'd see if you catch that. I did.
Switching it up on me there, mister?
Well, yeah, I must have Rick Piper on the mind, But yeah, I guess
that'll give me the night off. That's fine.
No. You don't get any nights off, mister. Although if you want one, just request one. You don't even have to request one. Just let me know. So I won't feel so lonely.
All right.
But anyway.
Well, I got to run. The little woman and the daughter just got home, so I will see you at 4 o'clock. Hey, all. Thank you all for coming. And as usual, it's been fun.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. See everybody soon.
We'll see you at 4. And thanks, chat, for everybody coming in. Dan and Wiley J. Draws. Appreciate it. Burkholder, always a pleasure. Carrie, always lovely. Who else was in here? Of course, Shadowhawk, and thanks, Glenn, for coming on. Timothy Olsen. Timothy says 11 days left on his campaign. Here is Melvin Zero there. Go check that out. Not just Melvin Zero, but Melvin 3. And RJ, glad you finally made it. Might have RJ on tomorrow. We're trying to line it up. He hasn't given me anything definite now, but it'd be a pleasure to meet RJ for the very first time. Keep the stories flowing, folks, and we'll see you again here at 4 o'clock Central, 5 Eastern on the 4 o'clock shadow. Keep collecting and keep watching the channel. Thanks.